מעניין, אין דברים כאלה, אין.
A yard-site, a Sudas yard-site. It's a second yard-site. The Rav was taken from us, Na'ifim Soimis, and he's missing amongst us, he's missing, but the idea of a yard-site is not a time of Kalmutna, it's a time of strengthening and taking his strength and his koyach and his encouragement that he always gave, and from this we have more encouragement, and this gives to the neshama the chayis, it's v'hachayit in a libre, and it's actually, we feel that the neshama is with us, select tunes. So we're gonna, everyone wants to express themselves. We're gonna ask everyone please to go to Naif from the Suda. And the other day in the field, everyone feels very close to the Rav. And a specialty. Well, we have the chus to have here Rabbi Yazva with us. And he also enjoyed a special relationship together. The Godel Chaim Tevin, Klein Ogesheit, Nichus Yomim, Shonim Tevis. Enjoyed from way back from Brunois. So we're going to ask, without further ado, we'll ask Rabbi Yazba to please say something up further.
L'chaim, which were very close. I davened in his Dal Damas quite many years, and I saw where he davened. I don't know if I got to that level, but let me just bring out a few ideas which I think you understand me maybe better. It happens to be that the Beit-Mrdchai was a Balkaira, Megillah Esther also. Now, one of my children who came to Kiryas HaMegillah They told me that the way he laid the Gemara, the Megillah, it is Megillah. It came part of him that you saw every person. He said she felt that she was like maybe 13, 14 years old girl. So I'm just telling you that even if I assume that many adults wasn't aware of it, but she was very, what you say, smart. And she felt that feeling when he read the Megillah that he just not read a Colonel Mafreya, a story that happened last year, happened this year, happened now. Everything becomes something special, she would feel it. It was to bring out the personality that the Warmkeit, the Pneumiuskeit, is such a thing that you don't find it very often. Now I want to bring out another point. In today's Sedra, Hashim Seder, which is very hard to find something that would fit into this Yaarzeit. But finally, I got onto something. This whole story that the Mitzvah goes and they bring in two birds, and one is chefs and the other chef, they put it into water. What's happening over here? I look into this Rashi, and Rashi explains the fish and the going boy in a Lashon Hara, Shumaisa Pitputi Dvorim. Pitputi Dvorim is a very funny expression. Pitputi Dvorim. Some, I always said it in Yiddish, you say the bolded, yeah? It's not for Verka, yeah? What does it mean, Pitputi Dvorim? Reminded me of a Yishalmi. I just looked it up back then. Sof Brachas Yishalmi, it says over there, I'll call Pitputi Torah, in Pitputi, in other words, about Torah, so talk is good, but all the other Pitputim is bogus. Now you thought about, maybe you thought about a person you thought about a bird chatting. What a potato stuff. But it was funny that one bird started chatting, we call it, and the other bird was quiet. Then this bird stopped, and the other one started chatting. What's happening over here? They had a discussion. I tell you, I didn't say what we're talking about, but the bird is talking because the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he was booking all the different miles that he had, and he also understands Sichas Eifes. Actually, Melech understands that minute to learn also. So it comes out that they have a language that they call Pitputi. So therefore, I was talking about, they took two birds. What did they want to show? First of all, they talked about Dvorim B'Teilim, like in the Shalmi, so he says, what do we do? Dvorim B'Teilim. Dvorim B'Teilim for me. Not Torah, so it's Golish. But what do you mean Pitputi Torah? How can it be, it's a contradiction. Is it Torah or Pitputi? The birds are Pitputi, so it's Torah. These birds are not going any Torah, that's for sure. So therefore it comes out there's a certain level of Torah that's called Pitputi. Even a person does not, when I would go, when I used to speak with him, or something came up, different problems, a lot of dafka, direct learning, he would always have a Maimon Chazal that connected to it. Very funny. Every time in the Maimon Chazal, he was so sure, it went one by one. So you want to see over here, Pitputi, I'm talking about Talmud Chacham, not only in learning, darshaning, davening, in Balkeda, he was a jack of all trades. So it comes out that we try to think over here, we're not thinking about all his mileage, of course. It's very nice. But here we're talking about something more previous, take a look into such a person. Now, what we're talking about over here, that a person is a mitzvah. What does mitzvah means? Mitzvah. Why did the Torah make such a big commotion about a mitzvah all of a sudden? Lashon Hara. People very think Lashon Hara. They don't realize that Lashon Hara is mamish. What is it? Erech is Haga drei Menschen, but you get into that, yeah. But it comes out that a person thinks is Mitzirah. In other words, there's something in him that's something wrong. And the Eibishter, so to say, like the Rambam says that the Goyim was not just a malady, a sickness or something else. He didn't go to a doctor. He went to a Kohen. They came very well some doctors, but he went to the Kohen. Because it's a ruchnisike, it's a spiritual problem that the person is, if he speaks Lashon Hara, there's something wrong with him. He thinks something wrong with the other person, so he's the problem. So therefore the Kohen came to him, or he came to the Kohen to pretend to the Shrenis and Posik, to heal him. There's something wrong with you. Don't think you just said a few words and Mela, so what? It's a big deal. No. It's very, very serious. And therefore you have to go to Levada Yeshiv, you have to go out to Mushulz Machna. All three Machnas, you can't have no connection with nobody else. If you have some Machlekes, could have been said, it was difficult to say it. Machlekes said Yeshayim, but not again. So we see how serious it is that because you said Lashon Hara, and you made Pidel Levavis, in other words, you took people and you, so to say, made a certain, I would say, hate between them, so you have to go and beat myself and don't cause any trouble. Now, what I want to bring out over here, I want to have from the Psukim, the system, what the Pasuk is saying, how you should be mitayah a Mitzayra. Because now we're talking about a Mitzayra is not just a sickness, it's a spiritual sickness. And therefore you don't go to a doctor, you go to a kohen who's able to teach you how to become a mensch. Okay? Now here the system was as follows. It's very interesting. I'm sorry I told you up too much time, but I'll try to make it sure as possible. He said like that. That you take first, the question was, you might ask the question, first you have to ask the question, what's the big deal? What I have to, why? What is the question? What do you have to? What's the big deal? Why are you bringing two eifers for a korban? What's the shiloh? Because it's not a korban. They didn't bring it in the base of Mikdash. They brought korbanos. So what was the necessity of having two birds and shechting them al chutz l'mikdash? So he's saying like this pshat. Some say it's kliyoko, but not everything. What I'm saying now comes from there. He's saying like this. You have to bring two birds. But those birds, they say they are constantly chirping, okay? What we call in English chatting. Talk. There are two levels of talking. There's talking in Torah, in Tefillah, wonder. And there's talking with the big problems, with Hara, Mechilas, and you have to know where are you up to. What is wrong if you're doing something that is Lashon Hara and it's coming automatically, you just can't control yourself. So what is the Eitzah? The Eitzah is as follows. That you take two birds and you take 8 eddas. You take a piece of from the eddas, it means from the this is a special tree, what's called eddas in English, I don't know, remember? A cedar tree, excuse me, which need to last. The azer. Azer is also something that grows on a tree. You shecht one of them, and klei cheres on mayim chayim. What do you mean? What's the word eating? Why are you shechting one klei cheres? You take one bird, you want to get, we say we have two levels of speaking. You take that bird, that it actually signifies the inyan for what? From Lashon Hara. He is chatting, speaking Lashon Hara. What do you have to do with him? Shechter. You have to take out his chayas from what he's doing. People love to hear say Lashon Hara. It's an enjoyment. You get a certain satisfaction. So he said, take it and take out his chayas. That he shouldn't have any enjoyment from that. And what should you do with it? You should immerse it in Mayim Chayim. Mayim Chayim ain't my El Torah. And the Klei Cheres. What's the idea? Number one, that why are you talking Lashon Hara? Because your head is not full with Torah. If your head would be full with Torah, and you would sit and learn, and you horror on learning, your head will not be empty. And once it's empty from Torah, so then you have Nechoshem Akrav. So therefore the first thing is dipping in Mayim Chayim. The second thing is in the Klei Cheres. What's the Klei Cheres? Klei Cheres is a keilah that from the outside, it's not Mikabel Tumah. Inside, so in other words, that you are learning Torah in such a way that you will be in the Klei Cheres that you will not take anything from the outside of the world. You will be so engrossed in Torah that you will forget. Like it says in Leshus Chochmah, that everybody has a level to be Teresa Nosei. You know, the Rashbi was Teresa Nosei, but how could it? So he says that every time when a Yid sits an hour, Shachas, at the time that he's learning, you shut off your phone, your cell phones, and you only concentrate ki'ilu that you are not doing anything now. No business transaction, no talking with anybody, just learning that hour completely devoted to Abraham. So now he's saying when you want to come to a level that you should try to develop yourself, that you should have the enjoyment for Lashon Hara, get rid of Lashon Hara. So it's something deep down in your conscience that why you're doing it because there's something wrong with you. Not something wrong with somebody else. Because if you have that feeling that you want to degrade somebody, you want to embarrass somebody, you want to talk bad about somebody, there's something wrong with you because you have something in you that's not functioning properly. So therefore the first thing is Mayim Chayim. You sit and learn and you forget about the world, should not interfere. That's why from the outside there's no Torah coming in. Then you become, so to say, developed. And what you should do, you should take the 8 eders and Shnit Las and the Ezev. Why? Because most of the Lashon Hara comes from like arrogance. You're big. And this person, you think you are at least. And therefore, in order to show that you're greater, so there's 2 ways of doing it. Either you show that you're great or you show that he's low. So therefore, some people have the system that instead of them getting grading, do this. So if it's Bar Chochmah, so Adarab, you come and talk with Chochmah. But no, you rather give somebody some Lashon Hara, so he becomes the big shot in himself here, that's it. So therefore he's saying you take that 8 eders. 8 eders, the cedar tree was very, very high and strong. And realize that is telas. You should be humble like the word. And Ezer means something that grows very small parts of plants that grow. So therefore you take down, you only take them. So then you realize when you're learning that you don't know too much. And the more you learn, the more you know that you don't know. And those who less they learn, they think they want more. So therefore that's the accomplishment that you will become humble. Because you're learning so much Torah, and you saw how much you're missing because you didn't learn till now. So that will bring humbleness, and that means that you will change your attitude, the cloud, and get rid of this concept of Lashon Hara. Now, I just want to conclude. Beit-mrdchai, again, even when he was petuting Torah, he was learning different things. Like we say, maybe Purim Torah. Purim Torah is ein Nochilama, usually on Purim, but sometimes when you speak, and even when you speak in mundane things, any simple thing, but you give out constantly, you're giving out by more Chazal, that's called Piputis Daisa. It's good. Even though l'chayra, you're not saying any Dvar no Chidushim, but the fact that your mind, that your feelings, your whole interior part, only has full with Torah, so in anything that you're talking, even though in mundane ideas, you come out and tell about Torah. So that's what I'm saying. The mile for the Motri was that even though that he would speak other things also, by the way, he was not a politician. but he understood politics. Because I remember I had to deal with something, I spoke to him, and whatever it is, it was a meeting, and they made a whole, whatever commotion of it is, and we had to speak, and we both spoke on that meeting, unfortunately. I told him that you think that this meeting was because of this, it's because of something else. I explained to him the whole background, and he understood perfectly exactly what I told him. So I'm telling you that Mordechai was a brilliant person, he understood, and he was an emerson person. And therefore it comes out that when he learned, gedavet mit der Begillah was mit der Warmkeit, gedash in Droshe mit der Warmkeit, gedavet mit der Warmkeit. As I once played a story, it's also mentioned last time, but I'll mention it again. Somebody came into Chavishas. I come up and sat next to Rabbi Mordechai in the Dal Damas, but somebody came, sat next to me, and he didn't daven too much. Daven because it means they daven without a meaning. Okay, so he stood there, and he heard the way that Mordechai was davening. And he says, wow, he never heard such a thing. He said, I was used to it already, so therefore he was used to it. But you can see clearly that somebody comes from the outside and really is interested, but not just come into the shore because we have a good kiddush afterwards. He came to the shore because he didn't sleep with kiddush either. And he heard him davening. He said, wow, he was so impressed. Mamish, that's what I want to say, because I want you to understand that those people that don't really understand this idea, or this actually have this impression that Mordechai, who he was, that I'm not talking about the chesed of him, that he was a good balkera, and he was a good baltfila, and he was a good darshan, and whatever he had violence, he had all violence. The main thing that we're trying to discuss, the pnimis from him, the varmkeit that he had. And therefore, it comes to any little thing that there was a problem, and he respected every individual that came. You remember every time that somebody used to come in, and he used to, he sees looking at him. What is he looking about? What is he? He's looking what he should get. Because if you give him shlish, shish, whatever it is, he'll have a problem. I mean, just being an idea that he was so devoted to the people that came in, and he always respected everybody that came in. And therefore, that is the greatness from the Mordechai English person. Therefore, maybe we should help him, we should uplearn, we should learn what it means a geschmack in learning, a geschmack in kleine baltera, a geschmack to speak with people, and to be all devoted to what he needs to give tzedakah, everything he did, and he did it with a pneumius, and it was very impressive. Just I mentioned the story before, and therefore I feel that I gained something that you couldn't find other places else. You don't find shuls like that. I must say it's a great shul you have, and your father-in-law was the one that actually you did it in such a way that it permeated the whole shul, and there people come in. Who comes to Chavishas? People that want to daven like a mensch, chulapochas. So therefore it's a gewaltige Zach that we have Baruch Hashem, a shul that he put his kerches into it, and this was to say that Baruch Hashem that we could daven with a million, with the sinners, of course, Yisuf daven with the Arichas, they have their own ways of doing it. Und der Eibische helfen, es eine Mail-Station, die ganze Mischproche, eine Mail-Station, Chavishas, gesorgen, mehr Menschen sich come in, should appreciate it. The problem is that people don't appreciate it, they have no time, okay, have no time, verstehe ich, hat mehr the weekdays, verstehe ich, but Shabbos also no time. What time are you in Shabbos? So you come, you daven a million, and we should have a million, by Hegel should have a million, you daven Mila, and then just get davened, okay? And that's what I'm saying, they should helfen, und the mails is a message of Almen, and we should uplernen, und they should helfen, also wenn es die ganze Besproche, also sei, wie gesagt, ist wachsen, und die Kinder, und die Edelkach, und so weiter, chassidische Jeden, und Chaim, und Chaim. Amen.
Da da da
We're gonna proceed with making a siyum now.
לא, אבל יהיה לך את זה אחר כך. כן.
Siyum Mesetes Megillah, Omer Rabbi Parnov, Omer Rabbi Yechanan, Kol ha'eiches Sefer Torah Orum, Nikbar Orum. There was how the Sefer Torah Orum, Nakitereit, is Nikbar Orum, on Kleider, on Tachrichen. So fragt die Gemara, Orum soll geteilt auf. Meint Taka Orum, Orum on Kleider. Nor was, Ele Ema Nikbar Orum belei Mitzvahs, on Mitzvahs. Verliert alles Chusim, was gehad durch ein Leben von Mitzvahs, als mit keinem wenn verliert alle Mitzvahs. Fragt die Gemara, der Art gedekach, belei Mitzvahs al gedeitach. Omar Abaye, Nikbar Orum belei Eisa Mitzvah. Halt an der Sefer Torah, ja, in Mitzvah, was tut jemalt, mit der Sefer Torah, the mitzvah was tut is verliert jene mitzvah akoponim. The mitzvah he's doing at that time that he's holding the Sefer Torah, and what he's doing with the Sefer Torah, that mitzvah, that schar, he loses that schar of the mitzvah. Omer Rabbi Yanai Breder Rabbi Yanai Saber. Rabbi Yanai gesagt den Namen von Rabbi Yanai Saber, Mishmei Rabbi Yanai Rabbe. In den Namen von Rabbi Yanai Rabbe, die Greis Rabbi. Mutov Tigole Lamit Pachas Val Yigole Sefer Torah. When you're wrapping around the Sefer Torah, Bintain, legt zusammen the Sefer Torah, you darf man legen the Meil, the Mitpachas of the Sefer, wrap it around, not to lay out the Sefer Torah should be put around the Mitpachas. The Mitpachas should be wrapped around the Sefer Torah. That's the big kid. Vayidabr Moshe Mei Adei Hashem El Bnei Yisrael Mitzvoson. Bringt the pasuk Vayidabr Moshe Mei Adei Hashem El Bnei Yisrael Mitzvoson Shiu Keiden Eisa Kol Echad Ve'echad Bizman. Tana Rabbanan. The Mishnah rechnet euch, das heißt, the Mishnah friert euch gerechnet, wenn man lehnt, jeder Jema Kriya, wenn man lehnt, jeder Chelik von jener Tag. Yisvatzen, Shiyukim Kolechad Ve'echad Bizmani. Taner Rabbanon, Moshe Tikel Lem L'Yisrael, Shiyu Shelim V'Deishim, Binyone Shel Yem Hilchas Pesach B'Pesach, Hilchas Atzeres B'Atzeres, Hilchas Chag B'Chag. Das heißt, der Posik, bringt der Posik, in Teire sagt, Tibel, nachdem es sagt, der Meer, sagt Moshe noch einmal, als Moshe hat übergegeben den Meerdim. Was heißt, was will der Posik da übergeben? Why does the Posik want to tell us over here? Obviously, Moshe, every mitzvah David told him, he gave over to the Yidden. Why is it repeating again when it comes to the Meerdim? Again, he repeats that Moshe gave over the Meerdim to the Yidden. So the point is this, that we want to let you know that Moshe was Mesakim. He gave over the Moedim on that Moed. There was a tikkun, a special Moshe Mesakim to give over that Moed in Pesach by Pesach, Atzeres by Atzeres, in Hilchas Chag b'Chag, and Moshe tikkun, and this is what, then in Yitutzuchot, we would do that every Yom Tov, make sure that we get Hilchas Chag b'Chag, Hilchas Atzeres by Atzeres, Hilchas Pesach by Pesach. Adon Allah b'nei Yir v'slikah lo m'sechas Megillah. Adon lo m'sechas Megillah v'adon lo m'daitan lo m'sechas Megillah lo m'sechas Megillah v'snashim lo m'sechas Megillah Adon Allah m'sechas Megillah Adon lo m'daitan lo m'sechas Megillah v'daitan lo m'sechas Megillah v'snashim lo m'sechas Megillah Adon lo m'sechas Megillah Adon lo m'daitan lo Snashim noch mit so Gilles Snashim noch mit am das Lass mir nach die neue Lehne weil er sehen steht raus kommen und sehen wie mal sehr sehen man nur immer Bob אני ברומי בפרוב נחמן בפרוב אחי בפרוב אבא מורי בפרוב רחמן בפרוב אופי בפרוב סוכן בפרוב עדו בפרוב דורי בפרוב הרי מן הורדי בישראל בפני ישראל מי יכולים אנחנו מצאים לישראל כמו ישמח וגויים לישראל שכל מי שחק מין פלספת כאילו ני לבסום ופיתר מן איוש לילם ויש כאן פיתר פתאום כל אחד תורתי נר עמדני חוגבה אומין סלו וויד מינים אנחנו פנוח עדינו היינו ולהיה ביסינו ששמתוך לגן יש מבייס הגלון ושמתוך לגן יש בפלוניס שונו משקים והם משקים אנו משקים ודבריסיינו והם משקים ודברם בתלם אנו אמינו והם אמינו אנו אמינו קם שכר ואין אמינו ואינם קם שכר אנו רוצים והם רוצים אנו רוצים כאן בו והם רוצים וישחר שניהם ועטו והם צריתם וישחר לאן שלא מינו ובלי יפתח בו רוצים לך עדינו שם שעזת נסיים מסכים בגיל וכן ועזכם סכתי ספורם אחים ולסיים ולום ולעולם לישמו ולעשו קיים אסכול ודסמת לסך ביאבו וסוס כל התנועים האמירוים מסם יחמוני עמיד ליוזר יושלי סושו מזכר מפי ומפיזרי וזר זרי הדוילם זה כאן בו בימסלך תנחו יסור ושופט לשמולך מרקסיס היסי שיחך כביר בכל ימך ויסלוך משחיים ערך יום המינוס באיש ובקוביד עדינו יזנה מיתן עדינו יבורך סמי בשולם סגדל ויסקדה שמי רב לא מודי ורב רוסי ויאמר מחוץ ויעד ואפו כאן וכל משיד חיי יחני ובמייכם חיים דרוב יסיסרו והכל הזמן כל וימרו איש שמי רב ורב כל המלך נעשי יסרב אללה וסלו שמי כושו בריחו ליהי לא מכל בחסר משרק ובחסר נחנוסה דמירם בעולמות יסרוב הרבון המל תמידם הכל תמיד תמידם הכל מנדוסים ברייסה וצנידם וכל השעה בעשר יהי להי נלכים שלום רב אחינו וחיסה ורחמן וחיים נריחם זיין רביחו ולכאן מקורם אמן ישמעי ואמרו אמן חישום רב ישמעי וחיים תיבן עלינו והכל יסרוב ואמרו אמן Isa shalom im Rebbe Yasser shalom Isa shalom im Rebbe Yasser shalom Again Malkol Yisrael im Rom
It takes time, but
My sugar got me to Costco.
מה לשבת? המשפחה שלך
Okay, without salmon, without skin. Because the pink flesh color is a skin kosher. Starcase machmas, it's a shech shem machmas.
Everyone's sitting around the table here. First of all, everyone sitting around the table feels a personal connection to Rabbi Gorary. Everyone has the same Einam Shavis, everyone has their ways and their style. But Rabbi Gorary connected, Yeder Einam feel a special connection with Rabbi Gorary. Everyone has their feel. Because Rabbi Gorary, he was Emes, Said. He got many miles, ribi miles. But the point that he was Emes, an Emes Said, a getroffen Eid, he met someone, he cared about him, he connected with him, he was true, it was an Emes Said. And everyone, I'm sure, has different instances that they remember, and everybody wants to share an Indian. He always would say Bekesha to a Yaarzeit. That Aid Anishom is a Mahalach. Anishom is a Mahalach. And the Shas is doing Elam Haz over here, down here in this world. A tut, tutuf. Aber es kommt, the Neshama is constantly going. It keeps on going, keeps on rising, keeps on advancing. But when after Me'ev Esrim Shana, stop. He's not capable of continuing going. And for this, he relies on his mushpoim, on his talmidim, on his... but they should keep on advancing. He mentioned that in different ways, in his different styles, and in
the visa
expired.
Huh? When the visa expired.
When the visa expired, yeah. Yeah. So the point is, we gather here, Yedrin on them and Zainian, Ainin Teira, Aveda, Gmilas Chasodim. Somewhere we can do so many things to learn and so many ways to learn. Just to learn from his smile. He met someone, he smiled to him. Das Alain is vert. You're in the street, you meet someone. You don't have to even start a conversation. You know, you're busy and you don't want to. You're not in a mood. You give a guy and get him a good morning with Ashmechel. That's the shame. Gmilas Chasodim. That could be the biggest term of Gmilas Chasodim. It's not drosha stam, but and no one can speak like Rabbi Gorary spoke. everyone should please feel comfortable later on to say a few words, but we'll start. We want to start with Reb Shimon. Should share with us, share the very closeness. Reflected in his hand. Shimon Liani.
זכות בזכות.
Any language. Any language you come from. There's three languages.
ספרדית.
English. כולם מדברים עברית פה.
עברית.
בערך שנוח לך.
באמת, זכות גדולה שזכינו להכיר את הרב. זכות גדולה שזכינו להיות לא רק התלמידים של הרב, גם חברים של הרב. והרב ידע איך לתת את ההרגשה שגם הוא רב, באותו זמן הוא יכול להיות גם חבר. זה מיוחדות של הגורארי. אנחנו נמצאים היום ביארצייט השני של הרב. באמת אפשר להרגיש לפעמים שממש הרב נמצא איתנו ממש בתפילות פה. מי שמתפלל בחבר'ה ש"ס לפעמים יכול להרגיש את זה. וניקח משהו אחד, אפשר לקחת, יש מלא דברים, אבל לקח משהו אחד מהרב בעניין של התפילה, לחדד את זה. הרב זכה, אני חושב, הרב זכה לקחת את כל מה שהרבים דיברו על העניין של התפילה בדבקות, של יהודי מתפלל, הוא לא רק מתפלל, קורא את המילים, he takes it to a whole different level. הוא התפלל בחיות, כמו שבתניא רשום, שכל גופו היה בזה. עד כדי כך שמי שהתפלל במניינים פה עם הרב, הרגיש שהתפילות מתקבלות. ביום כיפר, ראש השונה, ממש הרגישו שלא היו צריכים לשאול איך היה. ממש הרגישו שהשכינה נמצאת עם הרב. התפילות של הרב הם פשוט דרך, highway, a way for every chassid to see what the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya. Some people should understand English, like the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya that a Jew has to daven, and through the davening you can come to the highest level, right? Through davening, with Mamish Soba, Rabbi Gurari, how the davening that he davened, Mamish from Chayus, and he was connecting to Eibishter with the Neshama. So, we here in Chevra Shas, Zoichet Mitpal in this shul, and we saw the davening, and that davening, that Rabbi Gurari was davening, the way he was davening, that's what gave him the whole other things. When a person davens the Eibishter and the way that he daven, this is like Hamud HaShidra for everything else. When the davening is proper, so you come to Chevra Shas, and the davening is proper davening. It's not in a rush. You don't talk in the davening. So the davening is with Kabel. You're coming out from the davening. It's a whole different experience, and we zoichet to see it. You know, those stories you can only read about Shem Tov stories. Mamash, we were able to see it. Zoichet to see it. So the Rav was getting the chayus from the davening. This was the main highway to do the other things, the limud Torah and all the chesed that he did, and all the other things. But the davening, it was mamish connected to the Eibishter. We saw it, we felt it, especially in Yom Tovim. The Rav used to stand all Yom Kippur. All Yom Kippur. Nobody can do this. He stand, will not sit down in Yom Kippur. He will stand up the whole entire davening. So we shall take and continue the beautiful job that he gave us example, not only told us to do, he gave us example how to daven. We should continue the way he was davening, not talking in middle of davening, davening slowly, word by word. Everybody can connect to the davening. That's what brings him chayus to his neshama, that he can mamish can come sometimes. If whoever takes the amud, I don't know who took the amud till now, but whoever takes the amud the last 2 years, you can from time to time feel that Rabbi Gurari has a lot of nachas, but saying, look at my shul, look at my shul. It's quiet, everybody is davening. So we mamish zoiche to see it and continuing it with Rabbi Gadi from every Shabbos. The Dvar Torah is unbelievable. The Rabbi has so much nachas for you. Pei Maleh Margaliot, it's coming better and better, and sometimes I'm like, wow, the Rabbi must hear this. So the Rabbi has a lot of nachas from us, especially we continue what he teaches us. And we should continue this beautiful thing, the way we daven in Chevra Shas. We take our time, we don't talk, and everybody should really איך קוראים את זה? שיבינו את האחריות, שיש פה לפעמים אנשים מגיעים בתפילה, sometimes I see people coming davening, someone with the phone by mistake, they're looking this. It's mamish, not the place, it's not the shul to open WhatsApp and all of davening, or check a message, or the phone is ringing and then shut it off. I don't like to come and to hear people. It's not cool to tell people shut the phone or close the phone. But really to respect, there's a word, respect. To respect what he left for us. He left for us a holy place. It's mamish kodesh kadoshim by one of the shuls that don't talk. So the people should come to Chevra Shas, try to close the phone before you come into the davening. Don't check the WhatsApp, don't check the message. Baruch Hashem, we don't doing it. But sometimes people that are out of town, they come to sometime davening. We should know the place that we're coming to. This was whole his life. The shul. He came to shul. He wanted the shul to be nice. He wanted the shul before Yom Tov. We can paint it. We should check the floor. Everybody is sitting. What about the air conditioner? What about the? He want everything should be nice. All his life was the shul. So Baruch Hashem, we try to give him nachas to fix the shul, and there's more things to fix. Even everything looks good. I think the lights has to be upgrades already, and other things has to be. But we should always continue giving him nachas, and through the davening that he was teaching us how to daven. This is mamish. If you want to learn the Tanya how to daven, you can come and daven a Chevra Shas. 50% you already becoming a member. You can. It's going on the Balatanya the way you want people to daven. So, l'chaim, the Rav shall always protect us from the mala and take our davening through to the right eichal. Because Chevra Shas, when we daven, we have special cholim opening up in Chevra Shas, especially on Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and Nihile. We can feel it. How the Rav is making sure that all our davening is going through, and the tears are going through. The Rebbe goes, the Rav goes to the Rebbe to make sure it's happening. So we shall continue to give him nachas, and we shall continue to make the shul a beautiful shul, and all the beautiful things that he did, especially also now before Yom Tov. Gadi is continuing the Kimcha de Pischa, the full force. And mailing out all the checks for the people they need. Asher koyach for that. And we continue to sholem nachas, and we should be zoiche, like the Rav used to daven, v'techazeno eneinu b'shuvcho le'tzion v'rachamim. Like, everything was gish. Every word with a different spice. It's amazing. Every single davening has a different mamish spice. So, big rachamim, and like you used to say all the time, Malkeinu beroshenu, shezoiche this year to be with the Rebbe and Eretz Yisrael before Pesach, Achonel Pesach. We shall be zoiche to really makiv korbanos and Beis Hamikdash, Malkeinu beroshenu. Amen.
שכוייך שמלא. Da 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 ya 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 la ya ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya ya la 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 ya la 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 ya 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 ma 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 la 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 ya la 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 ya ya la 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 ya la 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 ya ma 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 Shimon, shkoyach, Shimon. Shkoyach. Bam, 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 bam. Ay, 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 da, 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 da. Johnny, da, da. Ya, da, 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 ya, ya, ya.
Hey, I did it, I did it, I da 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 da, yeah, did it, I did it, I did it, I da 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 da, yeah, did it, yeah.
Put together the Nusach, make a tape from the Nusach, Rabbi Gurari. Shimon is going to be the editor of the. Remember, it's the newest. Obviously.
Menachem klingt Freitag. Wenn ich dann mal Mohammed. Ich gado mavoyo de bishma yomim Mohammed.
There's another. You see here that he also enjoyed a very close relationship with his nieces and nephews from all around the world. With his family, close family that's a little further, and you see that. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of family members here that join us, and it just shows that he had a very close relationship to all of them, from those that live here and those that are a little further away, and those even in South Africa. He would travel all the way to South Africa to visit his family members, and they felt very close to. Yeah. Also, we want to ask right now Reb Menachem Slapochnik to say the Gabbai. He was davening here, I think, the past 30 years. Past davening here for 30 years. And he used to live right across the street. He kept an eye on the shul. And he took care of Rabbi Gurari many times. When Gurari traveled, and his son-in-law maybe was a little too busy to join him on certain trips. He thought he was too busy. That he was too busy. So who stood up to the plate with joy and with vigor? The Menachem took him and went with him, I think they enjoyed a special close relationship. Both ways.
About 30 years ago, I had to move out of my apartment of Crown, and I moved to the building across the street. And by mistake, Yeah? Or as we say, B'siyata d'shmaya. V'ashgocha protis. I came into this shul. I tried a few shuls around here. When I came into this shul, I saw a thing that I did not think that I'll see in my lifetime. I saw as something that we are reading in the stories about the elder Chassidim, how they used to daven, how they used to behave. And here I come into a shul and I see a dugma chaya of a real chassid. I was in a place where I was a very big skeptic. It took me a while to understand that we are talking about a person that all of his essence is MS. MS. If he says something, it's not politics. It's not that you should like him. It's not for any other outstanding reason. It's just, this is what he believes, this is the truth, and this is how a Yid should be behaving. A little story, you probably all had the same experience. You are going, by mistake, behind Rabbi Gurari. He's going up slowly. He used to say, when he was younger, it was a hill, now it became a mountain. And you hear that he's saying something. You go and you hear he's saying Tehillim, he's saying a Mishnah, he's saying Tanya. There is no such a thing that he would go and just not say Divrei Torah. Where do you see something like that? I had the schus, a lot of the people that are sitting here at the schus also to go with them to the Tzionim HaKdoshim at least once. I had the schus to do it a few times. And you all remember his song, Meir Kemanki. When he used to sing this song, and we went with Chassidim from Satmer, from Bobov, and we are getting to the Berdichev, and he's starting to say that, and everybody is crying like a little baby. This is a person that you see that it hurts him. 200 years ago. What is it? It's history. No, it's not history. It's something that's happening right now, and it's hurting him right now. We should learn from that. We should learn from that whatever we do, try to take a few things, try to take one thing, and do it be'emes. Do it be'emes. And this is going to be something that is going to be proud of us. We're going to I don't know how to put it, but if we are helping him to accomplish what he has to accomplish up there, whatever we can do down here to mamshich whatever he implanted in us, that's the way we should behave. That's the way we should believe, and we should really see Rabbi Gurari, the Rebbe, all coming now, right before Pesach, taking us together towards the soil. Malkeinu b'Rosheinu, Amen.
Amen.
Shkoyach Menachem.
I'm going to ask we want everyone back into the start. I'm sure there's many who want to say a point. Daniel Akoyen is a very special member of our show here, and he repeated to me different Beitlach that he heard from Rabbi Gurari, and recently on Purim. So please, he's going to want to share a word. Please, Daniel.
Yeah, Rabbi Mordechai was very...
That's a Mishnah. No.
Mordechai was very fond of telling stories of Ezekiel. was very fond of the mayor Pumshlan. And a few verses, he said, one of them is like that. A merchant of fur merchant, was traveling, and the price of fur fell down and was facing tremendous loss.
Daniel, can you speak louder, Daniel?
So he was on the verge of losing a lot of money.
There was a fur merchant from Meir Pramishlan. So there was a fur merchant, a chassid of his.
Yeah.
And he was losing the fur. The price of fur was falling and falling and falling, and he was losing all his money.
So the Rebbe told him you should make a big kiddush, big simcha. So that's what he did, and what happened is that the price of the fur went through the roof. So everybody was very happy. So Sid asked the Rebbe, what did you get it? Where did you get it from? That if you make a big simcha, a big suda, you'll have a big yeshua like this. So the Rebbe Meir said, it's Pasuk Befurash in Megillah. He said, "Leyehudim ha'isa eiro, Yida is furs,
Skin, fur.
skin. Yehuda ha'isa eiro, v'tosan v'simcha, and makes tosan v'chal and things get better.
Simcha v'sosan. If you make a party, it'll be a car. Your price of fur will go up. This, I remember this from Rabbi Gurari. I remember it reminded me. Yeah. Yeshakoyah. Michai, I'm sure Yosef. We'll ask Amichai B'Tisa said to share some words with us.
Fine. So I want to make one point that we can take out that I saw by Rabbi Gurari was a special thing that I realized that every time that my children in shul was not behaving so nice. So, as a father, you know, you become a little bit upset, you know, so automatically the Rabbi Gurari used to tell me, right after davening, your children, so all the milos, so you know, all of a sudden you start to change the view, the way to look on your kid, you know. Before you look at it as something wrong, and all of a sudden you bring out the mile that you look on your kid, that really there is a potential. They allowed to do what they do. And when I realized this, one time my brother asked him a shaila about his kid, yeah, that if he can ride a bicycle in the Yom Tov or not. So he told them, for you, yes. Yeah. So in the beginning I said, I come, but then I realized that, like we said, and this is the way of the Rabbi Gurari used to do. Sometimes he give you a push, that even though you not deserve it, you know, he give you a credit because he gave you a credit. It's like you cannot, you know, you cannot embarrass yourself. You have to take it.
To earn it.
You have to earn it. You know, otherwise, the first time you can tell you, but the second time you cannot. So there is many techniques, and Rabbi Gourary, you know, even though he was very short, but he was very smart and sharp.
He was very tall.
Huh?
He was tall.
משיחמוי ומעלו.
Yeah. I know Rabbi Gourary from, he used to be also my landlord when I came to, I left yeshiva, so I had to rent a basement by him. And he needed a place, and all the time, until I find the place, was took me maybe like three months extra. It was never like get upset on me. I told him I don't find. He let me until I find, and I move on. But the main thing of Rabbi Gourary, if you remember, every Farbrengen, Rabbi Gourary didn't leave the Farbrengen with the Chidush Torah, with jokes, with this, everything. After all, he want Maaseh B'Poal. Every Farbrengen, he want the car will add in Torah, will add in davening, will add whatever each one can be. Otherwise, he will call it Mapelo, Shalot Yeh Shakelo, no? What's the Lashon? He always all the time Shakelo. All the idea is, so the idea of a Farbrengen by Gourary, it's not to just give credit to each other or to which is fun and good, but the main thing, the main thing you should give credit to each other and to support each other. But the kavanah of the credit is to be Maaseh B'Poal. And Baruch Hashem in Chevra Shas, we all the time trying to do more Maaseh B'Poal and more Achlatot Tovos and more Shiur and more this. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't work, and we try again. But I think this Yaartzeit, which is Kol Avodato, Ve'amalo Asher, it's give us the koyach. I think we should try to add Chassidus in the morning.
Before the Gemara Shiur or after?
It doesn't, whatever. If you can wake up before 6:30, do before 6:30. We can do in the back, we can do in the basement. But we have to add either after davening, either before Reini Moiche, before the Cheshbon Nefesh, or after, this. But we have to add another Shiur L'Zchut Rabbi Gourary of the second Yaartzeit.
I'll tell you what, if there is interest in that, then I am willing for some time for my Gemara tutor to also give a shiur on something in the Chassidus, and then after that, we'll do Gemara shiur.
Or before.
It has to be, because otherwise there's not really room, there's not really time.
So we have to
Good.
Reb God David. God David. רגע, יהודה, רגע. Stand up.
He's also a long time scholar. Rabbi Sabag.
Not a big speaker, but definitely I'm going to be l'chaim.
Monday before
I'm going to be echoing a few of the speakers here before me. I cannot do that. So just like Ami just said, I was fortunate to be his tenant as well. Just about 30 years ago or so. I was before you. It's interesting that I was young, the younger of the group. I came with all the Bachrim, and Rabbi Gourary just scanned all of the Bachrim, and then he held my hand, as he would do to many people, and said, Gadi Yekiri, you're going to be responsible for the basement. And right away, you connect. Just like probably all of us here connected personally with him. And his personality was in such a wonderful way, just be able to connect to each one in his own level. He would be able to speak with the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Friedman, and to a Pashat Shabbat Pshutim like us, like me. And he would talk to you eye to eye, never look down, and always give love and just in a way that you cannot do otherwise. So when he would say at the end of the Farbringen, you cannot be Begapa Yove, Begapa Yetze, you know you have to go out with something, you know you have to do something. So my luck was that my bed was right under his chair in the dining room. I think it's right on top. The people who live on top, right? Because you go into the basement, the first bedroom, the bed next to the window is right under his chair. And I can testify that that chair was very squeaky and very active.
Sorry.
It was not you, it was Rabbi Gorary sitting and learning. And he was Pashut Mole Vegodush. He was so humble, and sometimes he would talk, regular talk, but he was Pashut loaded. He was Mole Vegodush the Nigla, the Chassidus. And there was no way that he would finish talking to you and you would not feel that you're affected, and you have to do accordingly. He mentioned before Yom Kippur, yeah? Yom Kippur, he was standing all day long. So a few years ago, I was sitting with him in an event by a simcha of the Mispalim here. And punkt before that, I was reading in a sefer about a chassid that was 26 hours of Yom Kippur standing. So I told him, Rabbi Gorary, I read about this chassid, and I think you're doing it as well. And he just changed the topic like that, turned, made a joke, just like that, under the radar. You would not notice. And of course, when you would walk behind him, you would notice that he was mumbling words, and always just learning and learning and learning. Even when he would sell you life insurance, he would tell you Gemaras and Vertlachen. He was Pashut. He is in our lives 2 years later. He's missing, at least in my family, a lot. We miss him a lot. We miss him tremendously. As we walk to the shul, we were just speaking before, we can still hear his voice in the walls. It's like it's absorbed in there. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Yom Simchas Torah, it's Pashut, you can close your eyes and imagine that he's with us, Pashut, with us, dancing with us, davening with us, and for sure he's davening with us up there. Should be Melitz Yeshef, all of us. We should all take with us. It should not be Begapa Yohe, Begapa Yetze. We should all take a little something. I know personally I have a chavrusa for about 10 years or so. It's only because of him. Because he would always ask us to do those little things. From davening with a minyan 3 times a day, or take upon yourself a little shir. But whatever you do it, and you do it all the way. You do it for real, you do it, and you try your best. And Hashem is not asking us more than that, to do our best. So all of us should make a achlata, as we are in his second yahrzeit, to take upon ourselves a little more, one more ma'aseh, one more gedid. And through that, for sure, we'll be zecher to Akitzu Veranu Neshech Ne'afar, to the coming of Mashiach. Take it to Yad Mamash. Malkeinu Baruch Hashem.
Shlomo. Shlomo.
Shlomo is also for many years davening here. I think maybe the longest going member in the Chevra Shas is our dear Shlomo Cohen, also a Kohen. He's the first one to shul and the last one out. Okay? I don't know who would come first, Shlomo or Rabbi Gorary, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
Today is not the last. Today the other guy.
The other guy comes later. Shlomo comes the first one. I mean, now we have a Gemara here. But otherwise, for davening, he's the first one. And he told me he had a yechidus every day with Rabbi Gorary. Because every day with Rabbi Gorary, you can see how Rabbi Gorary prepares for davening. But I'm not going to... Go ahead, share with us.
Louder.
Well, first... No, you started with this.
Just an observation about Rav Gurari. Sometimes I would walk him to his car after davening, and we'd park and we'd shake hands with each other. It could be 10 degrees in the middle of the winter, and his hand was warm, very warm, and his coat open. He's a warm type. I'm not a speaker, but I just wanted to make one comment. My family had the schus of having Rav Gurari read the Kesuva by a few of our kids at the chuppah, and it was an experience to hear him read the Kesuva. And one of the chasanas, Rabbi Castell, had a bracha also on the chuppah, and he commented to me after Rav Gurari read the Kesuva. He said it was like being at Har Sinai, hearing his voice, the emes. That's it.
נו, להיות בהר סיני זה לא פשוט. חיים וחיים.
We want to first of all thank everyone. Rabbi Gorary is thanking everyone for coming, for joining him in the video. We're not done here. We're not finished. Just in case someone leaves from now on, you know, it was appreciated that he was here. But I just want to point out that Rabbi Gorary, he didn't only Geton as the given Eisen in the embassy, not just for Chavashas to build his legacy or to build his thing. He was interested in every mocking mikdash, every mikdash ma'at was important. Every place, every shul, every yeah. So and this we see in the fact that he supported very much. We have here Rabbi Yosevich that started a shul in the other side of Crown Heights, and he has a beautiful shul. And we see the fact that he supported him like it was his own shul. He here they came up there and he was bringing and he was concerned that with the place over there that should grow the new community. Doesn't. I also feel he used to Fabring next door by the Levites. Yeah, you have your own shul. That's not important here or there. Nah, it's important Fabring to bring down. It doesn't matter where you Fabring. That's Rabbi Gorary. Rabbi Yosevich, please give us your memories.
חיים וברכה.
חיים.
אין.
Just share one thing. I'll share the impression I had. The impression Rabbi Gorary left on me. I think it's something we can all share and we can all agree upon, and I think we all share this chut hashani between a lot of what was said. There was nothing zaitig. Every detail was like a real hechetimtze. It was a yom yom. Chavegestellt and gesagt and gechazet. A nig in every tnua. There was no reingechab derech agav. And every person, it wasn't just, a lot of people mentioned this, that he saw everyone as an equal, and I think I share that, but I also felt that, but I think it has to do more with the fact that Pasha, he was miyaker every person. There's no, this guy's here, that guy's here, he went in, he came out, he's this old, he's that old. Every mitzvah, every
davening, every hayom yom, anigin. I think besides everything that we had the privilege, mamash the schos, that he came to Farbring with us quite a few times in schos of Levi Hillel, and the kesher that we had and the kier that he had for our little Winkel in Crown Heights, but the fact that there's another chassid that's Zem Negea was Negea to him. I think the Nakuda is, at least what I noticed, there was no Zaytige things. Everything, and it's a tzir of the emes is a tzir of a chassidische rav. Heintige Tag, you have a lot of Yidden was kind of learning, and they learn Taka. A durchgedrungen, a durchgetriebene chassid. That every Maimer Azal, I'm sure you all remember, gehoben the hand, and he said, "Unsere Chachamim sagen." You know, there was no specific. What is it? How many lines on a page? The Chacham is not Memra, it's not Braisa. But the Braisa gesagt, by him it was there was no Zaitige Memra, no Zaitige Mandamars gehört. He said he quoted the Meir from Primishlan. Good. So he remembered who said it. No, the Meir from Primishlan, not Tibig again. That was very, very unique and special, and I think that Roshim stays with me more than the Pratistik Inyanim that he said that I go back to. We have Baruch Hashem, it's recorded. But the close to Ketsugain. There's no Memra in a Gemara. You go to a ganze Daf, each Memra, each Tana, each Amoira, each Din, Ayem Yom, a Tnu and a Nigin, Ein Maise Toiv, another person. He's not Stam Arangefallen in Dein Leben. If someone fell in it, there's a person there in the minyan. Every person came in, he would look as he come in. He didn't know them, he didn't get a chance to ask their name. Even if he wanted, he wouldn't get it. Every person was Nagea. I think what I'm saying is klar. I think I'm saying what I feel. I think it's what I'm hearing. But L'chaim, we should. I think it's nishtam that the siyum of Beis Nissen of the Shleimus of the Avodah of the Rebbe Rashab leads into the Matal's Yaarzeit, because the emes is that's the nakud of a pnimi. A pnimi is that every avur is there is a dart in Gansen to be there in Gansen. And it wasn't Stam, he was there totally, completely. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chayit and l'ibay, we should be chassidische Yidden. And learn from Matal. L'chaim, l'chaim.
He used to come to America to visit. He used to come here in the nights in Slavin. He wanted to stay on here because he wanted to come to America.
Levi Hillel. Levi. תגיד משהו, לוי. אל רק תצלם אותנו. נו. Levi Hillel. I had the chus to take all the videos. Hello. All the videos of the Rav. Levi, תגיד כמה מילים.
אתה שידור חי, מה אתה עושה?
תגיד כמה מילים, לוי.
לא יודע, אבל יש פה רב, יש פה זה, מה אתה... שמעון.
לא. הוא היה בבייסמנט, גם לפני, בן
לוי יגיד בתימנית.
אני פה
נו.
We mentioned a few times that Hashgacha brought this that a few months before Rabbi Gurari passed away. Rabbi Heppenheimer showed up and he started with his shir, with his Daf Yomi, and eventually he was giving the shir in Yantiv, and last of the shir with us, Aninya, please. Memory, I mean, you knew him for at least a few months.
I knew him for a couple of months. The truth is, you mentioned in the Yaakov Shir, we learned today about something, an expression the Gemara has about Gerim Gurim. Like you have the Johnny come latelys, the guys who only at the end, after the whole Golos and everything is over, then they come up and say that we want to be Yidden. So Compared to all of you all here who have known Rabbi Goraри for 30 years or 50 years or 3 years or whatever it is, I'm B'chinas Gerim Gurim over here.
It's all big chain. It's all big chain.
Yeah.
It's not different in the chain. It's
right.
First the beginning.
So, but yeah, it's true. The kesher that I have with Rabbi Gorari began through the fact that I came and asked him for permission to move my shir here and to have it hosted here, and he graciously allowed that. And since then it's going on, Baruch Hashem. People have talked about all kinds of different aspects of Harav Gorari. It's noteworthy, I think, when we think of we're going to hear tomorrow from Abgadi. As Hashem will hear tomorrow's Hayom Yom, which talks about the learning schedule of the Rebbe Rashab and how many different areas in Torah he learned every day. So that's, I guess, more the side of Harav Gorari that I got to see. Hayos that I wasn't here much, certainly not during those 2 months for his davening or for his chesed or for any of that. But what I did see of him, and befrat, what I got to hear from him during the first siyum on brachas, which was the only siyum during the life cycle of the shir in which he was there, and when he and I were there together.
A few weeks before.
A few weeks before. Yeah, it was an Adar Tavshin. Yeah. So.
Before Purim or after?
It was before Purim, I think. It was a few days before Purim.
He was there then?
Yeah. So yeah, there's many different things, I guess you could say, that his Metzius was, but one of them is that his Metzius, as many people have spoken of before, was Torah. And every part of it, Nigla and Chassidus blended. You have that sign upstairs that summarizes in a few lines, in a few well-chosen lines, what he was all about, or what at least what the Tzibur perceived of him. And it mentioned over there that shirim b'Torah b'Nigla uva Chassidus. And it wasn't just two separate things, Nigla and Chassidus, but they were as it's supposed to be, Torah Hashem Tmima, where both of them blended together as they should be. So now, yes, as Ami mentioned a few minutes ago, we have over here the shir in Gemara and the shirim in Nigla that there are now 2 shirim in Nigla that I'm giving over here. It would be an honor to also have the opportunity to give a shir in Chassidus, and by all means there should be one here in the morning. So I put on the WhatsApp group a few minutes ago, and I'll say it now in person. I'm prepared to give one in the morning before my Shir Gemara. If people are interested in coming, then I'm prepared to do that. Yes, it would be early. That's true.
It would be earlier than before the Shir.
Yeah, so it would be
Right after Tikkun Chatzos.
You know, listen, we're not going to be like David HaMelech, where he sleeps the first half of the night like a horse, and the second half of the night is sitting and then learning the whole night. Over at least, you know, maybe we have maybe we have it in us to wake up a little bit earlier for that.
יהודה, אתה רוצה להגיד משהו?
במנוחס, כן.
די, מבורך.
עשה קידוש בחלק גורארי.
נו, מה עם ה...
בכבוד, רבי חנוכה.
אולי הילדים הקטנים, הנכד.
עוד מעט, תודה.
כסף רוצה מאוד.
רבי חנוכה.
אתה לא זוכר את הליטוף שלו ככה שהוא יעשה לך? מנדה, אתה זוכר את הליטוף ככה, תספר.
מנדי.
A story I heard from Gurari at an Ein Yaakov shir. He said, Zayda, given a hoichi v'mir. Zayda was a giant like him. And he says, given a chosser by the Frierdiker Rebbe, and by the Fabrengen, als weggelegt unter dem Tisch, to be able to be right by the Frierdiker Rebbe. Und der Frierdiker Rebbe hat geguckt unter dem Tisch und gesagt, es liegt das Sefer Torah unter dem Tisch und keiner hegt ihm den Schuf. The Sefer Torah lying under the table, no one's picking it up. And I thought to myself, when he said this story, Rav Motel is a Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah, walking Sefer Torah.
Yes.
That story I heard from him. Another story that happened with me, I'm a little embarrassed by this story, but it brings out Rav Motel is godless. When Rav Motel was in Shloshim for his wife, so we know that he used to learn the Torah every time. So he was the Baal Kodesh, and I forgot that he was in Shloshim, and I forgot that he was a Chiyuv. It wasn't. He asked me to stand by the bima, so you should have 2 people on either side of the Torah. And when it came to Shlishi, he pointed to me to say to me, "Can you please call me up to the Torah?" But I didn't have the remes. I thought he's pointing to me to ask me for my name. So I said, Yitzchak ben Yaakov. And then he starts calling me up and I thought, no. He says, he wouldn't let me do it. And I was like, so I took that, he forced me, I took the aliyah. And then later I went over to him, I said, I'm so sorry, I'm embarrassed. Such Abbas Yisrael, such there's so much to say, but I love him. I love him, and I think about him quite a lot. I tell stories about him. He was a father to all of us, and the simcha that he had, and simcha sachayim, is something we'll have to learn from. And one more thing I want to say is that I was another in Yaakov Shir. I don't remember the Gemara, but there was I think those that know the in Yaakov better can correct me. The machlekes between Abaye and Rava, the Chachamim should be melumed in the ways of trickery. I think Rava maybe holds that they should be melumed so that they can be able to chap the ganovim and know what to chap them. And Abaye says no, you shouldn't learn it because you shouldn't have any shaykhs. So when he told over the Ein Yaakov, he says, "Kommt drauf zu sagen, ad Chachamim da sein." Gor, lamdonim in the jubikis. He started saying like this, the scoundrels, the ones that are gonna try and cheat and all that. But he said it with so much chayas, I still feel it today. 3 years later. Anyway, so much have an aliyah and come down the matzah. We're all as much going. Continue to his holy ways.
With the corona, אתה בטוח שהוא נפטר? לא בטוח. עכשיו התקשרו.
מנדי. אחיין.
אני מדבר בשפת הישראלים.
יש כמה ישראלים כאן.
כן, בדיוק. אני, ההיכרות שלי עם הדוד שלי, האהוב, בית-מרדכי, מוטל, היה באופן אישי מאוד. זה היה סוג של בית שלי, הבית שלו, הבית של גדי. זה היה הבית שלי פה בניו יורק. מאז שאני התחלתי לעבוד פה, כנראה נגיד 13, 14, זה היה הבית שלי. אז מצטרף לכל מה שאמרו פה, היחס שלו, היחס האבאי שלו. דיברו על זה שאצלו הוא לא ראה הבדלים בין אנשים, הוא באמת לא ראה, אצלו כל יהודי היה פנינה ממש. אבל אני רוצה להוסיף פה עוד נקודה. דבר ראשון, נקודה בנוגע למה שאמרו לתפילות שלו איך שהוא היה מבטא את המילים והמנגינה. אז אני זוכר שפעם באתי לפה לקריאס מגילה, חברה ש"ס, וכל כך נהניתי מהמגילה, אז ניגשתי לו, אחר כך אמרתי לו, למוטל זה פעם ראשונה שלא רק שמעתי את המגילה, גם ראיתי את הסיפור בעיניים, תוך כדי. נהנה מזה מאוד. מה שרציתי לומר זה שבנוסף לזה, הילדים, המשפחה, היו אצלו מאוד יקרים. אני אחיין שלו, אז הילדים שלי זה כבר ילדים של אחיין, אבל כל אחד מהילדים שלי ממש הרגיש כאילו שהוא דוד קרוב. ולא חושב שיש לי ילד שנקרא על שמו מרדכי, אבל כשהוא נפטר זה היה מאוד, טבע הדברים מאוד קשה בבית, גם הילדים, זה היה גם תקופה של הקורונה והכל. ויש לי בן שהוא כל הזמן היה מדבר עליו אחרי מוטל, זה הצדיק הכי גדול שהכרתי, ואיך יכול להיות? הוא לא יכול להבין איך יכול להיות שקדוש ברוך הוא לקח כזה צדיק, פשוט לא יכול להיות. בהשגחה פרוטיס מופלאה, גדי לפני שבועיים, אני חושב, בחתונה, הוא ניגש אליי ושואל אותי, שולם עדיין מדבר על השוור, על מוטל? אז אמרתי לו, לא, אני אגיד לך את האמת, כבר הרבה זמן לא שמעתי אותו מדבר. זה היה כמה ימים לפני פורים. השגחה פרוטיס ממש, בפורים אנחנו נוסעים שלחמונס, מביאים שלחמונס, כל הילדים באותו, מתמול, משום מקום, שולם אומר, רוצה להגיד משהו לכולם. חסר לנו השנה את החלק הכי כיף בפורים. אני אומר לו, מה החלק הכי כיף בפורים? ללכת להביא שלחמונס למוטל גורארי. ככה הוא אומר מעצמו. אז כמובן שהוא צודק, זה לא שאלה בכלל. לחיים, שיהיה מליץ ישר על כולנו, ואחי איתן ליבוי, שניקח ממנו רק את הדברים הטובים, ומליץ ישר למשפחה, לילדים, לכולם, לכל המספר הזה, שזה ממש כמו ילדים שלו, מרגישים את זה. חיים.
חיים ברוך.
אחרי קבל השבס, כל פריידי נייט.
והיש, שעמד בפני...
כוחו.
והיש, כוחו יוסף.
תראו מפה תתעלפו.
Member of Kavod Shas. Haven't seen him a little while, but glad he's here. He's here, but he had a very special connection with Rabbi Gurari. I know, and he wants to share a few. Go ahead.
לחיים, לחיים.
חיים טוב.
The last word I heard from Rabbi Gurari was המילים האחרונות ששמעתי מהרב גורארי היה Near we miss you, near we miss you, פעמיים. אני בסך הכל רק שבת אחד לא הגעתי בשחריס, זה כל מה שקרה. שבת אחד לא הגעתי בשחריס לתפילה, שבת אחרי זה כבר הרב טרח להודיע לי שהוא שם לב שלא הייתי בתפילה בשבס. בדרך כלל, כמעט כל שבת, הרב גורארי, תמיד כשהוא היה מסתובב, הוא היה מסתכל עליי. לא יודע אם שמתם לב, אבל זה היה כמעט קבוע. הרב היה מסתכל עליי ככה, מבט חודר, באופן קבוע. ובגלל זה, באופן אוטומטי, זה שינה לי את כל התפילה, זה שינה לי את כל אפילו ההכנה לבית הכנסת, אני יודע שכשאני מגיע לבית הכנסת, הרב גורארי הולך להסתכל עליי ככה במבט חודר באמצע התפילה, אני לא יכול לבוא סתם ככה לבית הכנסת. זה כבר שינה את כל התהליך. וזה בעצם היה הרב גורארי. הרב גורארי, מעבר לזה שהיה לו קשר עם כולם, הוא יכל במבט להשפיע בן אדם לטובה. הוא יכל במבט לשנות דברים. וזה מה שקרה איתי. זה היה הקשר שלי עם הרב גורארי. הקשר המיוחד, שהיה מסתכל עליי במבט חודר, וזה היה מספיק. לחיים, לחיים.
לא תן לי, לא נגיד. הנכד, הוא לא רוצה. שנר, תבוא. שנר לדעת. שנר אני בא. שנר הרב מאחוריך.
חיים לחיים. אני בערך לפני 21 שנה הייתי מתפלל באיזה מקום, בכנסת. אחרי זה, גם ססנטי גדי היה שם, שהייתי בחור שם, אז התפלל שם ולא לי קשר כל אחד תפילה שם, אני הגשתי את ה... אז יום אחד קמתי, הייתי מדבר שם יותר מדי, קמתי, הלכתי. אמרתי לבוא לפה, לא יודע, משך אותי לפה, לבוא לפה, זה חברת ש"ס. באתי בקרבת שבס, הייתי לתפילה, אמרתי, זה הבית הכנסת שאני רוצה להתפלל פה. כל הזמן. הרב עמד חזן, שר את השיר לחודדי, כן. שר את השיר הזה, וכל כך אני... נדבקתי לפה, לבוא לפה. אז אמרתי, מחר באתי לבוקר, ראיתי התוועדות פה, זה היה שם בזמוך, לא זוכר מה היה פה התוועדות. ולאט לאט ככה, כשבת אחרי שבת, והרב מדבר איתי, הילדים שהם מגיעים לפה, הם קוראים לו סבא, סבא. הילדים שהם קוראים לו סבא. הוא עושה להם, כן, ילדים שלי, ונותן להם נשיקה ביד, נותן להם את היד, נותן להם כל אחד נשיקה. אפילו לכולם, נותן להם חיבוק. היה אוהב את הילדים שלי ממש כמו, ממש הנכדים שלו. וככה שבת אחרי שבת, בת שבאנו לפה. ובהתחלה שבאתי לפה, לא היה כל הפאר שהיה פה, היה ממש, את הכנסת נראה עתיקה. ואני הייתי מתפלל בפינה, והרב אומר, זה הילד שלך עומד פה, עשיתי לו כזה סטנדר כזה על הקיר שנתפס על הקיר כזה שאני וזה, הילדים שלי, היהודים שלנו מתפללים, הרב רואה אותם, היה נהנה לראות את הילדים שלי, אומר לי, שנר, חסידים. אמרתי לו, הרב, ברוך השם, וככה אני כשבח על שבת. יום אחד, ושבת אחר כך, כשהרב שיפץ את הכנסת, ראינו על הרב, ממש הייתה לו שמחה. ממש כאילו בן 20, ממש היה שבשיפצנו את הכנסת פה, שהתחלנו לשפץ את המקום פה, ממש שהיה, ממש היה לו שמחת אור בחיים האלו על הרב. אספר לכם סיפור יפה גם כן, שהיה פה מוטו הזקן, זוכרים זה מוטו השוחט? ליפשיץ. אני הייתי יושב מתפעל לידו כל שבת, עוד לפני ששיפצנו פה את המקום. באתי שבת אחד, ביום שישי.
אתה יארצייט עם יארצייט.
תשע לדבר. מסממה מנה של הכנסת פה. ומוטו לזה, מוטו שבא לפה, אחרי התפילה, היה פה דוקטור רוזן היה פה. שאלתי לו, מה אתה עושה פה? מה שקרה פה? אז הוא אמר, הכל בסדר. וישבתי עד מוטול, ומוטול לא היה שומע טוב. אותו מנחה שהשבת האחרונה שפעל בו במוטול, זה היה מנחה ממש וואו. מיירי שהוא התפעלה גם כן, זה חצי שעה מיירי ואף יקרא לו, עד שימוד התפעל ערבית. אחרי התפילה הוא בא לרב, נותן לרב חיבוק ונשיקה מעל הרב, תודה רבה על הכל. הרב אומר, לא עשיתי שום דבר, אומר לו, תודה רבה על הכל. בא אליי, נותן לי נשיקה, נותן לי נשיקה כנשיקה, חסידי מרשמה לונדוני אומר ככה, בא לרב אברהם פריד, קיד בקלס קריאנים. ככה, מוטו בקלס קריאנים. יצא את הכנסת, הגיע לפינה, מונטגומרי נפל. אחר כך ביום הוא נפטר נראה לי, שביום הוא נפטר, אבל מה אני אספר, מה אני רוצה להגיד פה? הפוינט, שהיה בכנסת פה, אפילו מלאך היו לך לקחת אנשים פה, באמצע התפילה, כי היה פה כל כך קדושה של המקום, לא לדבר על תפילה, הרב ממש דאג שלא לדבר על תפילה פה, שהיה פה לדבר על תפילה, היה אכפת לו מכל אחד, היה ממש אכפת לו מכל אחד ואחד שהיה להתפלל פה, מישהו שהיה מגיע, היה כואב לו, למה אתה לא מגיע להתפלל איתנו, למה אתה לא מגיע לפה? היה פה איזה יהודי אחד שפתאום לא יודע מה, קם והלך. הרב הלך אליו, דיבר איתו, תחזור בחזרה, מה עשו לך, מה שמקשים לך מחילה, ולא פעם ולא פעמיים. וממש תרגש את הרב, היה לו אהבה לכל אחד ואחד פה, בית הכנסת, לכל בן שמגיע לפה. היה לו קשר אמיתי לכל אחד. בחגים, כל דבר שצריך. מי שצריך היה הולך לרב, כמו זה היה ממש ככה. וברוך השם, וראינו פה ממש את הכל, ברוך השם ממשיכים את זה הלאה, ורואים את זה המקום ממש בקדושה. כשאני מתפלל במקום אחר, לא מרגיש שזה פה. אחרי והצ'אט בשבילי זה משהו. זה לא אותו קדושה, אני שאומרתי להתפלל במקום, אני אמרתי לא, אני רוצה להתפלל רק פה. לא מעניין אותי בשום מקום. הם מרגישים את זה. אני זוכר גם כן מהרב, שהיה לוקח את הילדים שלי, נותן להם ככה חיבוק בלחיי, נותן להם ככה שלהם. איזה מותק נתן לילדים, היה מתחבק אותם ככה, כל אחד ממש כמועד שלו. ובפורים, לפעמים הוא נותן להם ככה, היה נותן להם ככה בשקט, היה נותן להם כמה $2 נותן להם שהילדים שמחים, הילדים הקטנים שלי. היית מרגיש שהיה פה כמו אבא לבן, ממש היה קשר אמיתי, כל אחד ואחד. וברוך השם שממשיך הלאה. יום נשמע, לחיים.
חיים הוא נורא. לא היה...
זה סיפור קטן, מה היית מתפלל הרבה? היית מתפלל פה הרבה?
$3.
סיפור, מה אתה...
$3 לכל עד פורים. הוא רומז לך, אתה לא מה שאומר.
לא,
הוא אומר שהרב הנותן.
יאללה, אהבה, לקבל את זה.
רוצה שהוא יתפתח
כששימון הגיע לפה, שבאתי את שימון לפעם ראשונה. אתה זוכר שימון? מה אמרת לי שימון? אתה זוכר אמרת לי? אני זוכר את זה כמו אתמול. בעצם יש הסכנים, לא רוצה לבוא לפה, אמרת לך שימון, בוא, תבוא תראה.
מי אמרת כזה דבר?
כי אתה אמרת לי כזה, אמרת לי, ברוך השם.
לא זוכר.
Okay, we have with us Yossi is with us. Yossi Rabbi Gurari is Zainakul, oldest Zainakul. And ask him to share with us some words, some memories, or inspiration, whatever you like.
Thank you.
So I had the great honor of, at an early age, moved in with my grandfather and grandmother, and I got to see him up close and see, whatever everybody here is talking about. I actually had it happen when I moved in. I wasn't exactly, or someone here mentioned that he was a skeptic. I was a little more than a skeptic when I was moving in to his house. And my grandfather, I felt, always loved me unconditionally. There was no question about that. And even with everything I was going through, he, you can tell that he was both concerned about physical and spiritual state, and that's what impressed me most, that he was real. And someone mentioned there was no politics, there was no pretense, there was what he meant what he said. In fact, he was known to be a bit of a harsh personality, not harsh personality, but when he would say stuff, it would be from the hip, and sometimes it would be stinging a little bit. And I think that was a really good, admirable trait of his. I know people who I was shocked to believe, to realize, when I found out that they told me how much they admired my grandfather, like the people you would least suspect. Specifically people who had completely abandoned Yiddishkeit, but they were very much impressed because they knew that when you with him you got the truth. And also he exemplified kindness, he exemplified gratitude. Every time that my grandmother would cook or something, he would make her feel like $1 million, or my mom for that matter. And he would know how to give a compliment. When it was compliment, it would be a really nice compliment, but it wasn't flattery. You knew it was. He knew how to make you feel like $1 million. I remember that one thing that I recall is that I was looking up once online. I was up late that night, and I was looking up an article, or I was reading up about Shalom Paul Hirsch. If anyone know who that is, who was. And he was a German rabbi, and Yaatzeyt writes very extollingly about him. And he happened to have been a brilliant writer, and I was reading some of this stuff, and I didn't do it intentionally, but I left the computer on. The next day, my grandfather, and I wasn't exactly in the stage of real, being outwardly that religious. My grandfather couldn't stop complimenting me and how wonderful it was that in my own free time I was looking this up. And every friend that I had brought over to the house since then, that was the first thing that he would say. And it was never overdone. You didn't feel that it was fluff. It was like real. Another thing that I mentioned, I don't know how well it's going to go over here, but I think it's a trait that I admire very much. So my grandfather was obviously very much a Chabad Chassid, very warm Chabad Chassid, but the quality that he had that I admired a lot is that he was open, because he was confident in his own way, because he was truthful and didn't have any insecurity about it. He was open to acknowledging that there were other Jews in the world as well. And there were many times we would catch flack for it, so he would incorporate some really beautiful things, like minhagim, for example. Is this okay?
Yeah,
he would bench the kids a Friday night. This is not necessarily a Chabad thing, but he would bench the kids a Friday night. And I remember him telling me that he caught flack from, I guess, someone who wasn't exactly that open-minded. And he said, you know what, if after 120 they schmeiss me for this, I'll take it. Because I think it's a beautiful minhag and I want to incorporate it. And And there were other things. Sometimes he'd go to visit. He fought flat for that too. Somebody once came, and with his sharp sense of humor, somebody once came over to him and said, "What are you going to the Nation City?" So he said, "Well, at least no mamzer came out of it." Yeah, I mean, anyone who knows the sense of humor. Anyway, this is something I think is very admirable, and again, it came from a confidence and he knew that he had his way, and this is something he forged on his own. Mind you, he didn't grow up not with a father. I remember him telling me how he would urge his grandfather. His grandfather would say, "Go play." Recess, like he would take a break in teaching him. He would say, "Go play." He said, "No, I want to learn. I want to learn." He pushed himself, and he forged his personality by himself. I mean, he had role models and stuff like that, but he didn't. It wasn't like he didn't have the peer pressure. He applied himself because he was as real as he was. Anyway, I think in exemplifying that, exemplifying his kindness, his gratitude, like I mentioned, his sincere love for everybody, and like I said, at one point he worked with Satmar people. He was in insurance.
Yes.
And he had a chavrusa towards the end of his.
Go ahead.
He had a chavrusa towards the end with a modern Orthodox gentleman who couldn't forget about him. And in any event, this guy Willie, and he said that he dreamt of my grandfather the night I think before he passed away, and he said that my grandfather, when he was in the hospital in the last days, made it a point to call him and tell him that he couldn't do the chavrusa that time because he was not in the right state. That's how much I remember when they were wheeling him out in the car to the ambulance, which by the way at the time they were very optimistic. They all told us that he's going to be okay. And I said, "Zedi, you want to take something along to learn?" Avada. That was, and so he brought a chayenu, I forgot what it was. And that's what he exemplified. So we should try to, like I said, take that one thing, or specifically in the area of kindness. I remember my grandparents' house was always open to guests of every color and stripe, no matter what the person looked like. And really, in this product, they exemplified like real hafnasas archim. And all of you know, obviously, what he was about. So yeah, and we should see him soon enough.
Amen.
Amen.
Excellent.
Bench.
Yeah.
No, Nikon, base. Hey. Ma. Birkas Hamazon.
אני לא אנטול. כן.